Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome Holly Murphy and Zach Wallace, and I'm Christy Towns. This is our presentation for Project 1, a group case study for math assessment that we've recently reviewed together.
All right, step one is what parts of this data catch your attention? What part caught our attention? We noticed that there's little mastery of standards. There were only one standard that the students mastered in pre-algebra, only one standard that they mastered Algebra 1 number 1, and only one standard in Algebra 1 number 2. One thing that caught our attention was multiple choice. A large number of the students, 71%, answered multiple choice questions correctly. And then the style of the question caught our attention, which 56% only answered short answer correctly and 38% answered open-ended correctly, which is a big difference between the percentage that answered the multiple choice correctly.
So now we're asking this part, the second part of that, what else catches your attention? Well, when we looked at students who scored 60% or higher, we noticed that there were only 50% of the total number tested who did this. Looking at scores of 65% or higher, we had only 43% of students tested did this. And then when we looked at linear equations, 89% of all the students who were tested in this assessment scored favorably on that. They were able to solve the questions. 50% were able to graph linear equations, and 45% were able to write and solve them.
So this brings us to step 2. What does this data tell us so far? Well, we know that 71% scored well on multiple choice. It also tells us that the mastery or non-mastery of specific test items. It also tells us mastery or non-mastery of those items and how they are associated with the standards. It tells us wrong answer choices for multiple choice, and it gives us short answer scores. It also gives us open-ended answer scores.
All right, so the second part of step 2 is what does the data not tell us? Well, in this data, we don't know the reading ability of the students. Hence could be the reason why they've done poorly on the short answer and the open-ended. We don't know the class makeup as far as the special populations. How many special ed students do we have in this class? How many 504 students? How many EL students? We don't see gender, the gender makeup of this class. Third thing, we don't know the socioeconomic status of these students, where they fall in that area. We don't know, we don't see when the time of the year of the test was given. So this test could have possibly been given before some of these standards were taught. Class attendance record is something else that we don't see as far as the data. So a lot of these students could have poor attendance, and that could be them missing the standards taught the day they're absent or several days that they're absent. And then a question that we had that the data doesn't tell us is multiple choice. Is that when they get the answer right, is it mastery or is it just luck? Are they guessing to get the answer right, or do they really know the answer?
So step 3 was asking, what's the good news? What is something good that we can say that we saw from this data? Well, when you think about mastery or partial mastery, these are all the areas in which students were able to score favorably on. Solving linear equations was a positive area. Identifying functions was a positive area, with 100% of the students scoring favorably on that. Data analysis, mean, median, and mode. Number sense, being able to write linear expressions, that was a positive area. SAT, easy questions. All of these areas were good things that we saw on this data where learning had taken place.
So step 4 brings us to this question. What are the problems of practice suggested by the data? Well, the data reveals that the students do need practice on short answer development. They also need practice on open-ended questions because the data indicates that they did not do well there. We also have to wonder what strategic teaching looks like in the classroom. Is there appropriate modeling, and is there appropriate questioning to lead students to build their background knowledge to answer in a written expression format for a short answer and for open-ended question. Also, we wonder, does the instruction match the assessment format? Are students prepared for the format of the test that is given? So does the instruction match the expectations for the assessment? We also wondered about remediation. There were lots of areas where students appeared to have gaps in their learning. There were some things they did well, but then there were other things that they still needed to work on. So we wonder about remediation or reteaching. Formative assessment. Was there any formative assessment? How well does the teacher react to what she sees or he sees happening in the classroom when students don't understand? Is there reteaching happening in the moment? What is the instructor or the teacher doing with the information that they receive from student performance?
All right, that leads us into step 5. The first question, first part of step 5 is, what are the key conclusions that we drew from the data? Well, the areas of need do we need more support? We need to take a closer examination of the areas of need for more support. How much progress monitoring is being done? Is this the only progress monitoring that the teacher's doing is through this test? Does the classroom assessment format, does it match the format of the test that the student's taking? In other words, is the teacher just giving multiple choice tests instead of adding some short answer questions or open-ended questions? Is the teacher teaching the standards and assessing the standards and documenting that assessment? And then how much data analysis is the teacher actually doing throughout the year before this test is given? So the teacher probably needs to do more data analysis than just this one test.
Lastly, we come to what are the recommendations of our team. So looking at this data and spending some time with it, we came up with the following recommendations. First of all, we need to document the standards that are being taught and assessed and the lesson plans so that they can be easily referred to. She needs to do some reteaching when performance is low. She needs to look at format her classroom assessments to match what she's teaching and make sure that there's continuity there. Strategic teaching. Use an I do it where she does the problem and demonstrates it. A we do it where they break up into groups and do the problems together. Y'all do it where she watches them do it, and then a you do it where the students do it individually. And she needs to monitor that. Do some progress monitoring frequently, and she needs to increase her formative assessments. And we think that may see a positive change on the data the next time this test is given.
Okay, thanks, guys. This concludes our presentation of the data that we were given, and we believe our recommendations would be of help to this teacher in the classroom, and these are the recommendations that we would make. Thank you.